Breakfast Club versus No Deeks. Bit of a unique situation this week in that a lot of the strong players of Breakfast Club are missing due to attending a tournament. And it's unique, where we got a good opportunity this time, because oftentimes strong players will hide a lot of our deficiencies. And I think this will be a good opportunity to kind of pick out some items that we can perhaps analyze too deeply with 2020 hindsight analysis. I guess nothing too crazy so far in the first shift. I would say perhaps we got about a minute 15 going on, pretty back and forth action, a lot of skating already, and with the puck so deep in the zone, you can see already players are getting a little tired. They're skating a little slower, right? A good time to change. Dave's already gone off, so I think that's a good sign. And the problem changing a little bit later, you can see here, is when the puck was deep in their zone, that was a perfect time to get the change. Whereas now that we have control, it puts your players or the D in a bit of an awkward high pressure situation. So a little bit of working on timing there would probably be beneficial, but no whistle yet. We see VB coming into the zone. Fu tries to send it. We got a banana peel. Whoa, hold on. Completely ignore what's going on. This is, we got Dancing with the Stars going on over here. Carried the puck in, like pretty good pass in the high slot, but VB's down there, gets tangled up with that guy. Oh my goodness. Jeez. Banana peels galore. Alright, let's rewind. Let's actually pay attention to what's going on. So, excellent pass up to Vu, and I think right here you can see tons and tons and tons of space to operate right here, where Vu can just skate it up, take a shot, look for really clean passes, and what he decides to do is kind of throws it blindly into this general vicinity. You can see if we do a little bit of a rewind back, his head is down at the puck and then throws it out, versus I think if he had some time to settle it down, so settle it down, turn your body, start skating up, head up, look for the pass, tape to tape. We got some opportunities right here, or even a shot rebound with VB in front of the net. A lot of prime opportunities right there. So unfortunately, I think got a little too excited. Oh, and then Joe could not handle that puck up here, unfortunately, and then back out of the zone. Let's take a pause here and we'll come back with anything else. Alright, this face off right here, we gather it up and then a chip up on the boards. Now, one thing I think that might help Layla here is notice how she comes up and then stops up and stops it on her backhand and then tries to chip it up. That's an option. It's now with her being there right now, you can see there is a defenseman right there, which makes it tough for her to hold on to the puck. One thing I may want to suggest, or for her to consider, is rather than stopping up, it's going to be a little bit weird, but you come in and then you skate into it to gather it, and then it's going to kind of separate you from the defenseman, and even try to draw them in deeper. And what's going to be useful is you're going to be skating down and you're going to have control, and then now you can look up, and because she's playing on the right wing as a lefty, going to have her in a really nice forehand position to come up and then look for pass options for any wingers coming up. So that's going to be a unique scenario. So you're going to come in, pick it up, possible pass options to one streaking center or another winger. Alternatively, if you see you got room and nobody's on you, then you can actually choose to turn up the ice yourself and then start skating up. And because you're already skating in this direction, you have a little bit of speed to work with, and then you can just turn with the little couple crossovers if you need to, and you'll have speed. It'll be less tiring. So some things to kind of think about there. So this play right here, Peter calls for the puck. I see him. The only problem is rewind right here. Yeah, in his eyes, maybe he's open. Maybe. The only problem is, let's say we get a pass up to him. Now he's asking for him to get his face beaten in by this guy on his back pressure. It's tough, right? Tough situation. One pass up, he's just asking for trouble. So if that's the case, then he needs, if there's not a pass going to be coming up, like you can clearly see this back pressure, right? He's got to open up and maybe find another lane. Either that or speed up, split that D, right? Get in between, and then we can do a lead pass, and then you're off to the breakaway. Now, in either case, pass is not coming. He's got to figure out time to straddle the blue line. So how does that work? One leg over, one leg on the other side, cut across until the puck has passed the zone, then get in the zone. So let's draw a little action stick figure. We got the head, we got the body, one leg onside, one leg offside, one side onside, blah blah whatever. And then once the puck finally crosses, then you go into the zone, right? Unfortunately, big time offside. Oh my goodness, completely have blown the zone. Remember, gotta straddle the line. One leg on, one leg off. Alright, we got a bit of a puck reset here. I thought this was pretty funny. Pay attention to Michael, pay attention to Vu. Alright, let's recap. What should you do differently? What should we do differently? So he's coming up the ice, scanning for options right here. Oh my god, where do we start? So as a winger, probably coming in closer towards the boards rather than in the middle. Why? Because you want to get close to the boards in case Joe does a backhand chip up the boards. You're kind of be ready there to pick it up and off to the races. Now part number 2 is when you're coming in, if you can do a backwards pivot, open up, and then you're going to be primed for position like that. It would be perfect. You could go like this, but the only problem is it puts you in a backhand position just like that, tougher to receive. So I would probably recommend the backwards pivot, and you could put you on your forehand position, but that's going to be kind of up to you. Now, the only other problem is with the forward skating like this, if you don't time it perfectly, eventually you're going to be in a awkward position where you have to double back around like this, or you're going to need to do this. It's really awkward versus a backwards pivot, forwards pivot, backwards pivot can put you in a bit of a loop, which is easy to do enough, right? For a center, I think this is just a tough position, being behind these players. What would I maybe suggest is, so VB, if he's all the way, so more width for VB, number one, I think would be one part. And then Michael, if he's able to sneak in front of these players and then cut across, may do the trick, or even going down lower, like close to where VB, so you can build up speed that way. Yeah, it's a tough situation here. Not sure. Maybe another, also a backwards pivot. I don't know. Yeah, I think we're doing that a little early, and it's also kind of right behind these players, so no defenseman in their right mind is gonna try that in this, like, throw a pizza up the ice in the slot. That's just crazy talk. So we gotta find a way to get yourself in a position where a pass is gonna be easier, whether that's gonna be saying pointing up a bank pass where you skate into it, or you get in front of them. Yeah. Alright, we got an attack coming up here. Breakout pass off the boards. Peter in the middle to Dave. And then lost it to Peter and back behind the net. Now, let's kind of watch this. We get a good chance out front there. Kind of miss wide of the net. Let's rewind here and let's have some comments. So, in general, on the attack, I have a couple thoughts. So, the one with the puck has a few choices. It's going to be they're the one that's going to be driving most of the play, and it's up to the other two forwards to kind of facilitate around that and read what the guy with the puck has. And generally speaking, sorry, on the rush, I would say the one that's first one in the zone, or the one that's, if we're at the same time, the one that's closest towards the net wants to do a beeline straight to net. So in this case, I would say Layla's probably the one that's closer, and they all roughly entered all at the same time. So the whole point of getting towards the net quickly is trying to draw maybe one, maybe two defenders with you. And that's just going to open up space for Dave with the puck. If you don't do that, if you slowly go in there, and let's see how, like that, we don't create any sense of urgency for one or two defenders to follow with you. And essentially what that means is their defenders they have the freedom to kind of stay up high and close to the puck carrier, right? So that's the first comment. You go down there, draw the defenders with you, and then from there you can move away, you can skate around, get some separation from them, and then your job is done. You've pulled the defenders with you, job is done. Now, the third forward, their job is to find the open space and essentially, eventually, try to drive play and get shots inside the house, right? Whether that means Peter starts trailing behind them in this manner, or in case, let's see, what would I perhaps suggest? Either, yeah, option one is he does the beeline straight to the net and then Layla trails in behind. Or if this is the case where Layla's beelining down to the net, then either you quickly get open in support positions or you're going to trail behind Dave. And this is, I would say this is a little awkward. Like if you maybe cut across and get behind Dave, that might open up a drop and then you're in the slot. I would say this is slightly awkward in how you're side by side going in a straight line. It doesn't really create offensive threat, if that kind of makes sense, right? Let's say a pass comes here. What is your threat? You're not typically going to want to shoot from all the way out here. You kind of want to drive that play towards the middle, towards the house, right? If that makes sense. So it's really, what are you going to do as your next steps? Like, let's say you get a puck now. What is your next steps in order to do that? So a little bit of thinking there. You see how this is just awkward. You got side by side. What are you going to do now? And eventually you just get towards the boards. And that's all you can do, really. So yeah, something to think about there. I mean, it still works out. We kind of form a triangle between the three forwards and it kind of works out, but that's okay. Now this part is funky. You can see how, yeah, the video kind of paused and broke there, but we end up in this really awkward situation where Dave and Peter are basically right next to each other. At this point, I would say Peter, as a player without the puck, he's got to hustle out to another location and open up. Whether in this case, what makes sense to me is he backs up and occupies this kind of area, and you can probably funnel shots towards the net that way. He's a lefty, so maybe a one-timer opportunity. All right, so one-timer chance there. Don't know if anything else opens up here. Oh yeah, this part is pretty funny. Just pay attention to Peter doing some I don't know, some Sam Bennett impressions, putting a little grease, pushes him over, skates into him, pushes him again. Too funny. Gotta give Peter a little roast here. Why? So let's pay attention to him. He's calling for the puck. So we get a puck and a pass. Come on. You got to be able to handle that. You got to be able to handle that, Peter. What's going on? Close that blade. I think quick comment here. We had an offensive chance here. Brought down onto the half wall. A lot of room for Vu to operate with. And puck's in a good spot, actually. And he opts to send it back diagonally across to the weak side D. In general, I think that is a it's a scary pass, and let me kind of explain why. We've kind of said defensively, we try to avoid throwing passes in the middle through the pizza zone, right? If it's open, but sometimes it's scary because if you got a fast winger that's reading the play very well, interception off to a breakaway. It's very it's scary. And if you're gonna do that, we gotta make sure tape to tape, passes only. So in this case, a little bit off the mark and then out of the zone. I think I would have rather seen, or in my opinion, is gather it up, tight turn, walk down that wall, and then you can look for one of two options, right? There's maybe someone might be here. You can work some passing plays up into the middle, into the slot, or even look for the play yourself, or alternatively, you yourself, as a right-handed player, can use that edge of the circle to walk towards the middle of the ice, take a shot yourself. Ultimately, we're going to try to work yourself into the house. So anywhere in this zone is going to be a prime scoring opportunity. So in this case, let's kind of see where he gets it. Got it right there. If you're able to settle it down, there's maybe a little bit of room to power through and then take a shot there. Maybe a little bit tougher to play, or tight turnaround, settle it around in this zone. Try to be a magnet, pull some players towards you, and then some passing lanes might open up. The weak side D could possibly come down here. Lots of plays that might develop. A little bit more patience with the puck, I think, would do wonders here. So we got a play coming up here that Peter eventually gets to, and I think this is a perfect example of just because you see a player is there does not necessarily mean that is the best play to make. Are we passing just for the sake of passing, or are we passing to create offense? And with a quick scan, you can kind of see already a lot of pressure coming in on Layla, closing in on the space, right? Could it be better served that you control the puck, wait for your teammates to get into open space, and dish it off, and you got some space to operate with yourself? So with this, are we passing just for the sake of passing? In that case, you're setting Layla up for pretty much failure right from the get-go with that pass. Boom, we got 1, 2, 3 already on her case. So whereas no pressure on Peter and lots of space to work with, you can even take it down low and drive the net yourself. So there's that. I think here is a series of mistakes, funny enough, done by not any Breakfast Club members. These are all Tumblebees members. So we get split here. Unfortunately, we don't see that on camera until about here. Mr. David Eng gets a little caught flat-footed behind this play a little bit. So at that point, he's able to split between. At this point, we're all kind of beat with speed, and our jobs are trying to make the shot as predictable as possible for the goalie. So for some far and wide, close down that angle so that the goalie can make a save. Now here's where the mistakes are getting a little tricky. So the defense, right D, goes and attaches to the forward. Dave covers up the middle, but eventually he should be defending this player with David Eng covering that back door, and it should be all fine and dandy. So Lou gets the interception, tries to break it out, gets touched on, but eventually Eng, the mistake here is that Eng detaches from his player. So he was good, he covered him well, but then he detached for a split second and focused on puck watching, and then leaves that open player out front, and now we have to scramble, and Kevin Liu makes the big save, loses his paddle along the way, throws more pucks towards the net. The D comes in, switches off, that should be fine, and then that's an icing. So here is a defensive zone mistake that results in a tip chance on Kevin Liu. Let's take a watch what happens. Yikes, that's a big yikes all the way through. So let's break it down from the face-off drop. So face-off loss, sorry, and that's fine. Wingers immediately should be coming up to the points. So let's analyze that. Claire jumps up. Vu is a step behind. You should be definitely going much faster here. And if you're scared for a block shot, you don't need to go like this. All you need to do is come straight up. He's not going to shoot this way, right? He's going to shoot towards the net. So all you got to do is come up, put a stick on stick as best you can. And that should be enough to block a shot. Now, the remainder is where the trouble is brewing. So, face-off wins, it should be center to center on a face-off loss. And then the wingers are going to be attached by the defenseman. And so let's take a watch, pay attention to these two players and see where they go, as those are going to be the ones that are often going to be lost. Boom. You can see right here, Joe's a bit far. Center is completely lost their player. And so, boom, shot down the middle. Tip chance here, tip chance here. No player is on them. Center should be here. Defenseman should be here. Boxing them out, making life miserable. Stick lifts. And we get a big tip chance right there. Luckily wide of the net. Alright, so breakout here. We see the weak side winger, in this case Vu, is opting to cut across. That's perfectly fine. When we see that as a trailing player, the center, we need to identify that now there is a left lane open. So if you cut this into a highway, maybe see, so the right lane, center lane, left lane, we should not be occupying the same lanes eventually, as an eventuality. So we see, hey, someone has occupied my lane on the highway while I don't want to be stuck behind traffic. So let's take the open lane and get some space, right? Spread out. And here is where it becomes awkward, right? Vu gets the puck on the center lane, but so much open ice. We gotta shift ourselves over there and take advantage of it. Eventually, we're just trailing all in the same way. So it's just a little traffic jam going on. And we should definitely be taking care of all the space, right? Drive wide, use speed. And I think the other small mistake is trying to force that pass through, gets kicked through. And instead of using all the space we can operate with, get some speed, drive wide. If that's getting closed off, button hook all the way up. Buy some space, buy some time. And we talked before on the rush, first one or closest to in the zone to the net, drives to the net, draws players in. Third one down in will stay high. Get some open space so that you can form nice little triangles. So a little mistake here defensively, and what I say is a mistake where Joe's trying to close up that gap as best as he can. If you could apply a little bit more pressure on that blue line, make it tougher for him to enter, that would be preferred. As you can see right here, he's entering the zone freely, no back pressure from our forwards as well. Drop pass, right? It's all free entry and we're backing up. Eventually they're just going to be able to walk in and take a shot just like that. A bit of a weak shot, but you get the point. And we'll show this as well because it's kind of funny. I get the idea, but Vu has a lot of mustard on his passes. Looks like it's ready to break Claire's kneecaps. Damn, that is a rocket. But we get the idea. It was basically on point, right on target, but probably a little bit too fast for her to handle. All right, this one, I have to say, absolutely inexcusable offside. Oh my god, that's I gotta roast Peter for that. That one is terrible. So let's do a rewind. let's explain why I think it's terrible. Let's say I carry it in. The way Peter is just skating, he's just, I don't know, he's just out for a leisurely stroll. What do you expect? Just like not really paying attention to where the play is, just going into the zone, and then a little lazy stick your foot back to try to stay onside. Here is exactly where the straddle comes handy, right? This will never happen if all you do is you do the same thing, except your whole pathway is going to be like this. Boop. Here's your body, your head, straddle the ice, and then the moment the puck crosses, then you skate in. Then you skate in. However long it takes, you just straddle the blue line and you will never go offside. So really lazy on that one, completely inexcusable, because Layla doesn't even do a deke or anything like that. It's just gathers and skates in, and yeah, zero reason that should be an offside. So I like this little attack here. Layla goes in and takes a lot of the space that's given to her. Eventually she gets closed off as this player comes in and there's a person trailing. Now let's do a little rewind and touch upon, I've said before, the first player in the zone is going to be likely gunning towards net. We're going to draw defenders towards them and make space. And that third forward, ideally, is going to be trailing and finding that high spot. Couple options you can do that is, one, I like to trail behind them along the boards, and that kind of creates eventual little triangle like so. Or, depending on how the play develops, you can also stay high in this zone, and that's also going to generate a triangle. Let's see how Peter does it. Yeah, he is trailing high, and the puck squirts out, in this case, in this manner. So if he's along the boards, there is an added benefit where he could come and cut in like that. Something along the board plays, that's a benefit to it. And then the other benefit of staying high in the middle is that you're kind of in the area to take a shot in a really primo spot. I talked about the house, right? Let's see. So defenseman decides to pinch in. That's perfectly fine. And Peter opts to drive towards the net. I think that is a mistake, and let me explain why. So his back's turned, and if a shot is taken, it's kind of a awkward position for him to look at because he's got to keep his head behind him. And then as a shot, if the shot goes through, it's harder for him to track, right? He has to turn his head from back to front and then hunt the rebound. Versus if he goes left in and then towards the net, there's a couple things that magically happen. So he's a left-handed shot. If he goes left and then opens up, a pass across puts him on a really nice area for his left hand, forehand, boom, shot, catch and shoot. And then this way, he's able to scan the play all the way, and then eventually it leads him towards the front of the net, where tracking the puck is much, much easier to watch as the puck goes through. Now, with his choice in a pathway going straight towards the net, he's essentially going to be creating himself as a extra body to block a shot, which is exactly what happens. Boom, shot on the back of his leg or his butt, can't quite tell, and that would be unfortunate. Versus if, let's draw a line here, he's opening up, pass could come here, or, and eventually one less body for block shot, and then possible rebounds coming here. So a slight change on routing would be my little suggestion there. Alright, so I thought this was funny. Period just changed, right? We're getting on the ice. Normally goalies blow the whistle. They say, hey, point at the goalie, hey, goalie, are you ready? And they say, yeah, I'm ready. And then they point at the other goalie, hey, goalie, are you ready? And they're like, yeah, I'm ready. In this case, the ref, okay, look, just rewind. Kevin's not even at his net yet. And then take a look at the ref. Just looks to his left. All right, let's drop the puck. Holy shit. I haven't even paid attention. I didn't hear a goalie. And Kevin Liu's not ready. He has his blocker out. Just put his water bottle down. And he's like, holy shit, there's a guy coming in on the right-hand side. What the fuck? And shot. That's crazy. I can't believe that ref dropped the puck. Alright, I think this is a breakout mistake by wingers and perhaps the center as well. So let's break it down. Puck is behind the net. We should be expecting wingers on the boards. Wingers on the boards, and then center ready to pick up the puck down the middle. Now we're scanning up the ice. There's no winger on the board. There's no winger on the left side board. There is a winger on the left-hand board. So we say, now we see some pressure coming in. Quick pressures on both sides, so center's probably going to be closed off. So we send it over to the left, right? We saw a winger there, closest to the boards. However, they peeled off of the boards. Not sure why. And so puck's coming up. It should have been an easy receive along the boards, and then off to the middle, and then up and out. However, we got a little lucky as it squeaks out and all the way to the other end. Both wingers, a little bit of a mistake coming off the boards, whereas it's really important to stay close to be able to gather those kind of pucks. I think this right here is a bit of a panic pass. So we said before, little chip pass up the boards for Peter. He's getting towards the boards. Makes the most amount of sense to me. And then Dave comes through, follows up as support as a center. We're going to be fine and dandy. Leila could cut across up as the leak the zone. Kind of depends on how the play develops. It's up to her to kind of read that play. However, VB opts to do a hard rim across the other side. Not completely sure why. Boom, sends it across. Really hard pass, right? Completely passes Joe, and now it was an easy Breakfast Club puck, turns into a turnover. Luckily for us, they send it back down to Joe for him to gather up, but a bit of a panic pass. Let's see round 2. What does VB do? Hard pass up the boards. Exactly what he should have done the first time. Maybe not so hard. Little chip, little slow it down, and it would be fine. But yeah, round 2 was okay. All right, this play was hilarious. Let's break it down. Pass back by VB to Joe immediately. VB's got to hustle, get to the opposite side of Joe and give him a passing option. Now, alternatively, if Joe is skating this way, VB could fill out this way. But it's up to him to kind of read what the defensive partner is doing. So he curls out like this. And so VB should be hustling all the way to the far side, right? Get a lot of distance and get open for your D partner. What he decides to do instead is stand in front of the net. He should have been way over here. Well, actually, I'll probably say over here. So way over here, right? And Claire should be over here. Boom. Boom. 2 big options, relieves the pressure. All the pressure is on this side of the ice. So quick pass across would make things simple, right? Instead, pass in front of the net. At this point, VB should open up and dump it out that way. If anything, Instead, what does he do? Tries to dangle in front of the net, loses it. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Let's see how we recover. All right. Pass up the middle. Okay. Works for me. I noticed this a little bit, Vu, and I think it's going to be something that's important for your safety, is that the way you stop is oftentimes doing this mohawk turn, stop, snowplow, lean forward, rather than just a proper hockey stop on your left or right side. And then boom, you see it's really awkward because you're doing a twist, like a rapid turn into a stop, rather than just a controlled hockey stop and then stopping the puck along the boards, which I think results in that fall. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it would be safer to do a hockey stop there than to do this like turn mohawk backwards snowplow stop. But yeah, that's just what I think here. So this one's a bit of a little yikes. Joes tries to clear it, hits the ref, and so we're trying to put pressure on that D. That's fine, except all of our players have now completely detached defensively from who they're responsible for. The center is not paying attention to this player, the left D is not paying attention to this player, the right D is not paying attention to this player, and so what happens? Throws puck in front of the net, and this player is uncovered, this player is uncovered, this player is uncovered. So what could happen? Obviously a shot could happen, a pass, a shot, a pass, a shot. Nothing's covered. It's crazy. Luckily Kevin Liu makes the save and the score is still 0-0. This play right here is a unusual set of circumstances. You can see there's a center here, a winger here, and another winger here. Very strange. If you ever see that, we'll probably want to swing another defenseman on this side. So it's going to be two defensemen with a winger forming a L, and then or adding the winger there. I don't know. It's really weird, but you can kind of see how this is kind of discombobulated. So the center beats Dave on the face-off, and so there's a bit of a scramble to protect that kind of semi-breakaway, right? But what that leaves is now we got two players. There's a bit of a hole missing, and it results in a kind of a chance, but totally awkward. All right, so defensive draw, wins it back to VB, takes it behind the net. I think that's the right play, but then he continues, whereas think, in my opinion, if he just does a hard stop right behind the net, settles it down, buy a little bit of time for your forwards to get into position, would be fine, and then kind of scan and decide, rather than just ripping it off the boards for an icing. I'm not sold. Alright, we've got an attack coming up here. Again, here we see our weak side winger, which is Vu. Weak side just means cut side, ice in half. Puck is on this side, that's strong side. Weak side is where the puck is not. So weak side winger is cutting across. That's fine, which means we gotta open the other lanes. So yeah, that's fine. So Vuk takes it in. I am not sold on this play. It's a very poor angle to shoot from. So let's kind of rewind. Lots of space, tons of space for him to operate with. And we've kind of said, if we can take the puck, this is the house, you can Google the house. This is ideally in this area is where you're going to want to shoot from. So if Vu, all he has to do, skate to the left a little bit, skate to the right, boom, let loose a shot from here. Gonna be quality chances. But you shoot from a very sharp angle, like you're below the hash marks, way outside on the edge of the face-off dots. Most of the time, it's not going to result in a quality chance. Versus, yeah, I don't know, you got a lot of space to operate with. Even like skating it in and then looking for that backdoor play would have probably been the better chance than that. Alright, dump in, and VB has the puck behind the net, except there are no forwards there. A little suspicious. So if you ever see that, I think this is time to huck it out, ice it, do something, get it out of the zone. Unfortunately, he loses the puck. The forwards went for a change. Holy smokes. We are so lucky. Shot on net. Yeah, lucky. Totally lucky. Here is another example of defensive mistake on the center. So 2-on-1, that's fine. Center on this player, and then right D attaching to this player will be, that's pretty much the end of it. So let's watch how it unfolds. Pass down, pressure on pressure. So center should be attaching to this player, and watch how it unfolds. Completely escapes the center, which allows for this to happen. Boom, one-timer opportunity. So a little bit of a lost defensive coverage there. Alright, so right after that, let's see how this unfolds. Their D has pinched down for the attack, so Vu is on that D right now. How does the rest of the matchup should unfold? We got a lefty should be attaching to any forwards that is closest to this post, center to the respective other post, probably 81 or this player. Kind of hard to tell at this moment. Let's see how it unfolds. Probably net front. You can see two forwards are kind of left unchecked, and so this leaves a tough situation. Too focused on the puck. This should be probably Vu focusing pressure on this player. We're too focused on zone rather than the player, and so we leave a kind of two players in front of the net. Dangerous opportunity there, but eventually it is out. Here's another example of a free zone entry, right? A little bit too conservative. So if we can control that gap, tighten up that gap a little bit. So rather than being back here, if we're able to be probably where that face-off dot is, right? Then we can put a little bit more pressure on the blue line and then force them on the perimeter. With it being kind of a conservative nature, look how easy it is to just get into the zone. Now they're in the house just because it's a free walk in, and a pretty quality chance to shoot on Kevin there. Alright, we are about to witness the obliteration of Peter here. So, holy shit, that was a big hit. So VB opts to do a hard rim around. Not necessarily a bad play in this instance. Just kind of based on the situation. I think I would have preferred him to so I think what I would have preferred is if he's able to skate it towards the back of the net, it'd probably be the better play rather than doing a panic hard rim or even a soft chip up to Layla. I would say that's the play I would gravitate towards most of the time, but this is okay. Now Peter's there first, and then this getting 39 just drives him head first in the board. That's crazy. That was a big one. So that's a 4-minute penalty. So Breakfast Club gets a ensuing power play. All right, let's see the whole thing in action. Let's skip ahead 4 minutes. So face off win. Shot. Okay. I'll just stop right there and make a first comment. So again, we've said Vu's a right-handed shot, tons of space. You could easily just walk to the middle, get a way better angle, and then rip a hard shot from here. Much better chance to score from rather than on the outside of a circle. That's pretty not a suboptimal area. Shoots it, misses the net. Okay. Bounces across. Gets it to Vu, turns around, shoots it again from the same area, where I think if he's able to control it a little bit, a lot of space to work in down that way, a lot of space to go around this player, and again shoot from the middle. Or like, it doesn't have to be a shot. It totally could be looking for some passes and plays there, but that's fine. I think that's blocked. All right, sent across. VB pinches down, passes out in front, not able to clear it cleanly. Joe's able to gather it. I think ideally here, if he is able to walk that blue line, find a nice lane to Vu, that's a possibility for a shot, one-timer, and then VB opens up on the opposite side. Definitely a possibility. Passes it down, tons of room to skate it again to the middle. A seam pass to Claire in the middle, seam pass to VB across. Shoots it again, misses the net, right? Common theme, just taking shots from a really bad angle versus taking advantage of space that's given. Right, tons and tons of space, tons and tons of passing options to open up. Could go to Vikel, to go to VB, to go to Claire. Tons of options. Let's continue. So VB's down there, settles it down. Let's see what he can do. Pass up to Joe, I like it. Tries a one-touch at the Vu. Couldn't quite get it, but the idea was there. VB comes down low. Positioning wise, I'd like to see someone in the bumper right here. So Michael, if he's opening up for the one-timer, but what is a better one-timer spot? Boom, right here. Amazing magic spot. Way better opportunity, way closer pass, and lots of space given. Because a pass across can definitely get intercepted by this player. But if you're here, no players to intercept, right? And an awesome one-timer opportunity there. Goes for a shot, gets blocked, and they clear it. So that's unfortunate. Let's skip ahead to skating up the ice. Settles it down. Okay, not too bad. Couldn't quite get a chance. And they try to clear it. Settle it down. So pass to the middle. Again, if we can get shots anywhere in this area, it's going to be typically quality with a good chance. I think that's as good of a chance right there for Dave as it gets. Let's skip ahead. See if we get some more offensive zone time. Nothing there so far. Here we go. Clear it. All right. Face off down here. All right. Vu has. See, that's better. So in the past, he would have just tried to rip a shot in this area. And this time, he tries to do a pass up to Michael. Off the mark, but the right idea. A higher quality chance, right? Didn't quite work out, but it was a higher quality chance. They clear it out. Let's see if the period's over, so let's end it here. All right, third period. Joe and VB line with Dave, Peter, and Layla to start off the remainder of the power play. Joe's going in by himself, no forwards to help him out. So we've said before, forward closest to the net should be making a beeline, drive the net, trying to draw the defenders in. In this case, none of the forwards decide to help out Joe. A strange turn of events for sure. Pass out front, misses everyone, goes to VB. Alright. Cycles it back down low. Pass, couldn't quite handle it by VB. We got 2 seconds left on the power play. And the power play is over. Dumps it for the icing. And that concludes our 4-minute power play. Alright, here's another example of our wingers. So puck is behind the net, settled down. Layla's in a good spot, but you can see pressure's closing in on this side. So that laneway doesn't look quite as appetizing as this way, right? And unfortunately, Peter is not close towards the boards. And what does that mean? Hard rim across. Should have been an easy pickings. Could not pick it up for the breakout. That is unfortunate. Alright, we got this sequence of play. Results in a pretty crazy chance at the end. We'll break it down. Already we see separation from the center, losing their man in front of the net. Getting a little scary there, which results in an almost tip chance. And then tries to clear on the side there. The D has pinched in. That means Layla, as the winger, should be coming in to help out. And so we get a little bit lost. We got this player should be covered with that player, and we are outmanned as it stands right now. 2 defenders with 3 attackers. How does this unfold? Unfortunately, we got to recover and come back in. Now, another note is if Peter stays on with number 90, as he should be, getting closer, he would be closer to help out with this player as we were down 1 defender. So right D would be over here. Now we're coming back to the net front. Someone's got to take some pressure off of this player, but at the same time, these players cannot be forgotten. So if we're able to have 1 extra body, helps things out. In this case, we see that the lefty has opted to put pressure on this player where someone else should have been there. And what happens, unfortunately, is we leave this player on the back door. And thankfully, they kind of miss. And Kevin makes a diving save. Alright, so here is a penalty against Breakfast Club coming up. So offside, right? As you can see, puck bounces back in. Should be pretty simple. Touch up and then go back in. Unfortunately, we have a little bit of a lazy penalty here. We'll see what I mean by that. Just reaching behind rather than keeping it simple, and then boom, big trip, as egregious as it gets. So that's unfortunate. So penalty kill. Let's see if there's any notes worth mentioning. Shot on net, glove save, nice. And then we go for change. Best part is Michael takes his sweet ass time. Ref is pissed at him. He's burning at least 20 seconds here. Holy smokes. The other team's probably like, what the fuck? And then he just drops it. He's not even ready. He's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna drop it. And they get a chance on net. Let's see, could we have done better there? Okay, so penalty kill wise, normally don't want any wingers on the outside. we would want the wingers, basically all the personnel towards the middle. So don't want that out there. That way you can form up a tight box right away and not a lot of chasing needs to be done. So that is that note. Let's skip ahead to the next face-off draw. So this way is better. You can see how the forward is there, and then a box can naturally form up pretty quickly. Again, all you need to do is just try to make pucks in this area miserable to get to. That's all the key focus on the penalty kill. 43 seconds left. Big block by Joe there. Tries to keep it out. Okay. A little bit too much. Oh, way too much chasing. Holy smokes. And then Kevin saves the day. So, what is the problem here? We got one person pressuring, and then that's fine, right? We just recover, get back, cover this middle. Now we got problem number 2 is 2-person chasing. Now we got a hole. We got obvious hole. One person's not even in the zone. One person's going to be doing a flyby. All right, number 3. Another person attacks. Holy smokes! Now we've completely lost the penalty kill zone, right? And all he has to do is cut through the, oh my god, another person tries to attack. And so we've turned from a 4-person penalty kill to a breakaway. Pretty suspicious. Makes a save. Big effort there by Kevin Liu. Yeah, pretty suspect penalty kill. Alright, is this the most awkward puck pickup ever? So David picks up the puck, but then Peter decides to kind of like be up in his face rather than getting open for a breakout pass, and so he gets stripped off. And you can see the hustle with the panic in our eyes when we see that get stripped. You're like, holy shit, this guy's about to go into the zone, and we got one person in front of the net. That's crazy. Luckily, Kevin saves the day with that. Oh no, Peter. Are you tired? Sitting in the penalty box for the last 2 minutes? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So this play leading up it's a little frustrating, I can imagine, defensively. Yeah, tough one. We'll just watch the whole thing. We'll kind of break it down. Obviously, it's the one that results in a goal against. That's a tough one. Let's break it down. So we're thinking, what is it? You got the 2D back there, the centerman, and then 1 forward here and a 1 forward off the screen. Go for the change, and so Vu's getting this way. Not sure to apply pressure where. This is going to be, so the obvious pass options are going to be 71, this one, and the other winger. So we got to do a focus on covering those. Peter's going for the change. Makes it an easy chip through, kind of awkward there. And we try to force the stop on the blue line. That's fine. And then this player breaks in. Yeah, I think David is a little bit flat-footed, probably covering this player. And so, yeah, Lou gets beat and gets beat. It's unfortunate. I gotta rib Vu for this one a little bit. I'm sure he's aware that. So, a bit of a blind pass, right? Settles it down. we're pretty safe right here, and I think he panics thinking this player is closer than he actually is. Rather than looking for a pass option, tape to tape pass, he sends it down low, thinking the D will be back there. Unfortunately, they've already tried to join the rush, and so it looks a lot more awkward. Two players coming into the zone, and fortunately, second time around is much better. Short little comment here. So Layla's going on the attack. So rather than doing a backhand pass like that, one of the things I may want to suggest, especially you being a left-handed player on the right-hand side, is put in a button hook, a tight turn into your repertoire here. So a tight turn out and tight turn in. So going towards boards and back out, you're going to be a left-handed shot. It's going to put you in a really nice forehand position for a pass or a shot opportunity. Just skate it in rather than taking it wide and then backhand and pass. Alright, last few seconds, pulled goalie. Some notes is we want to be pretty darn aggressive. So that's probably going to be touching the edges of the circles and then getting closer for those one-timer opportunities. So that's probably going to get you that extra half second there to get a shot. And that is it. I swear there's one more face off. I think, oh, here. Okay, so yeah, I think we needed more players driving the net, especially with a pulled goalie. A little too conservative, which allows them to clear it out. So yeah, I think a couple comments there. We had a pretty okay game. Unfortunate goal against there at the end.